Hello, 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 everybody. We made it in. We are learning patience in so many ways, especially where technology is concerned right now. I'm so happy to be here with you today. This is Leah Lund from One Whole Health and the Vibrant Woman, if I haven't met you yet. And our Reboot Your Brain series. And by the way, the fifth edition of Reboot Your Brain is coming up in April, so stay tuned for that. This is a special recording for a series that I call Under One Roof: How to Keep the Peace and How to Keep Your Sanity while you're all sheltering in place under one roof, or maybe sheltering in place in isolation all by yourself. Either way, I'm going to share a lot of practical tips in a series of 6 trainings starting today with practical tips for boosting your immunity and preventing or healing from coronavirus, as well as I'll give my recommended immunity boosting supplements and antivirals. So as you come in, please say hi and let me know you're here and let me know the sound is good and all of that, because as I said, technology has been a little wonky. And even though this is part one being recorded as we're going through this coronavirus pandemic, what I'm going to share today is going to be so helpful for you at many times in your life. Anytime you're looking for a health reset of any kind, or you're looking to keep your immunity strong. That's really the topic for today. So even when you're listening to this, hey, Lori, how did I know you were going to be there? That's great. Even if you're listening to this outside of Facebook, because we will share this on YouTube, listening to it through our email, listening to it months after the pandemic is long gone, this is going to be really helpful for any health reset. And what I'm going to do, I want to let you know right off the top here that when this email comes out in, when this video comes out in email to our list, I'm going to actually be putting in print for you the different supplements that I name. So if you're not on our email list, it's a great time to join. And when you do, you will get a free copy of Aligning Your Vibration with Your an energy guide. And I'm just putting it in the chat for you right now. It's an energy guide that I've put together. And there's no better time, because really aligning your vibration with your desires can certainly mean your life goals, your career goals, your family goals, things of that nature. And it can also mean right now, because we have a strong desire, right, to stay healthy, to recover from this, to move forward. So you'll love this free guide. And even if you're already on our list, you can absolutely opt in and you would still get a copy of it. And if you're not, then you will get a copy and be subscribed to our list so that, and there's the link right there. Be subscribed to our list so that you will get this video sent out to you once again in email format with the list of supplements. So, okay, I'm going to dive in. Synchronicity, I love it, Lori. All right, so let me dive into today's topic here. And again, this is part one of 6, so these will be coming out. They won't all be here in Reboot Your Brain Facebook, but they will all come out through email. So that's definitely the place to be. So first, I want to share some updates on the coronavirus, because things are moving fast, and that's one of the reasons that I put this series in short bits instead of one long webinar training. One of the many reasons is there's a lot of flux right now, but also things are moving so fast, and I always want to give you the most current information that I can, but I also want to validate resources as much as I can, because there's so much information floating out there. And so I like to see the same thing said by 3 sources that I trust. And for the most part, that's the only thing that I share. I'm going to have one exception that I'll tell you about later today about something we're finding from autopsies of those who have unfortunately been lost to the corona pandemic. And for anybody who's listening who has lost a family member or has a friend or family member, loved one, currently going through this, I just want you to know my heart is absolutely with you. My prayers are with you. And we just we just have you in our thoughts and prayers. Um, but here's the latest on the coronavirus update. So, first of all, the social distancing does seem to be working. So, I just want to encourage everybody that even though it's hard, and I'm hearing from, I know it's hard for me, and I have worked from home offices since 2002. So, you would think it's not that big a deal for me to stay home all day. And somehow it feels different because we have a lack of control, or we feel like we have a lack of control, and we're being told we have to do this, and fear can be rising up. So I know that it is difficult to maintain the guidelines that are being shared, but it's so important because it is appearing to make a difference, and lining us up to have, maybe 2 more really tough weeks where we see numbers go up. That's what I mean by tough. And then we maintain another 2 weeks to stay safe, and we get through this together. So social distancing is working. And what they're learning now is that a sneeze, or this virus is transferred through water droplets, through droplets that might be sneezed or coughed, or spit, or in those ways. And so what we know now is that even though we're recommending 6 foot social distancing, a sneeze could really travel up to 10 feet. So the sneeze itself. So it's a good idea to make 6 the minimum. And I mentioned this, and we're now saying, and the recommendations are coming out, that masks are actually a good idea. Um, and so, of course, a medical grade would be great. It's pretty much impossible to get your hands on one of those right now. But any kind of mask that you would use to protect yourself from gases could be good right now as well. And I think I look at recommendations when we don't have absolute science about something. I look at, does it just make practical sense, and or does it just make me feel better to wear a mask? If it does, and you have access to one already, go ahead and wear it. And extend that social distancing. And that even includes your family that's sheltered down in place right now. Because even though you might feel like, hey, we've been sheltered in place for a week already and nobody's sick and nothing's going on, the tricky thing about this virus is that people can have contracted it, and the reports vary from 2 weeks to 15 days later that they can actually show symptoms. So I don't say that to evoke any fear, but education and knowledge is power. And so even within your homes, it's a really good idea to have some distance. And that feels awkward, and I miss my hugs too. And we'll get through this, but this is really important for getting through it as quickly as we can. The basic symptoms seem to be very clear from all sources, including the CDC, that those who are infected have fever, a shortness of breath, and a dry cough. Now, it's recently been added that many of them also suffered gut or gastrointestinal symptoms. And I want to speak to not of our hyper awareness of symptoms right now, because I've been hearing from friends, from clients, from people in the community, oh, I have a scratchy throat. What do I do? And panic can set in, and we're very hyper aware of our body right now. And actually, I see that as a very, very good thing. At the same time, I want to share information so that we don't have overreactions. And so, even though gut and intestinal symptoms have been associated now with many of those who have tested positive, we also know we have gut issues for a lot of other reasons. So if you're experiencing a gut issue, ask yourself, go back to your basics about gut. What have you been eating? Is your immune system compromised? If you've been eating gluten or processed foods or packaged foods or caffeine or drinking alcohol or sugar, of course, dairy, you may have gut issues for a whole different reason. So just take that one in with a grain of salt. But unless you're seeing multiple symptoms, chances are you're fine. Of course, I can't promise you that or guarantee that, but chances are you're fine. In terms of the cough, this cough is a dry cough. This coronavirus cough is a dry cough. So if you have a runny nose or you have phlegm that you're coughing up, that's a cold. That's not this virus. So I think that's really calming information to know for those who are experiencing that. I also know here in the desert, it is high bloom, and every single end of March and early April, everybody's sneezing. because of allergies. So take into account, is this something that seasonally, if you're experiencing a symptom like that, do you have it seasonally? Because then if you do, you're probably you're okay. And that's all that's going on right now. So for the cough and for the tightness of breath, a good test is, can you hold your breath, take in the fullest breath of air that you can? Can you hold it for 10 seconds without any discomfort? If you can, chances are you're fine. There's nothing going on in your lungs. So it's important to be hyper aware. It's important to be aware of our body, but not to let the mind run away with those symptoms and make it mean something that it's not. But truly, I know that this hyper awareness of our body can be a major, major health reset for all of us, because we are now in an environment, in a cocoon, where one of our biggest jobs all day can be to check in with ourselves and to see what's going on with our body. And if we're noticing something going on with our body, then taking a lifestyle strategy to, okay, how can I support my body right now? So I want to give a real life example of that. And that is this morning, as I was doing many different things, including preparing Reboot Your Brain interviews. So Reboot Your Brain Season 5, the Energy Edition, is going to come out on April 17th. Stay tuned for details on how to register to get access to that. But as I was doing that, and then knowing I wanted to do this training as well, I found myself getting rushed. And as I did, I felt just little like sensation. I felt the energy right in my neck here. I felt the energy not being circulated. And that's oftentimes, well, in some way, that is completely what happens every time our body is sending us a symptom, is it's a sign that energy is not being circulated. Either we're taking too much in and not putting out, or we're putting too much out and we're not taking in. But our body is constantly trying to tell us something. And I just noticed that, very subtle. It wasn't scary or anything. It was just a little tingle. And it said, Leah, slow down. You are rushing too much. You are putting yourself into a rush that can be perceived by the body as stress, and there's no need. And so I took some deep breaths. I made the announcement of the time that this recording would be going out so that I didn't have the pressure. And it just brought me back into center and back into grounded. And sure enough, that little message went away. I had an energy clearing session, which is a beautiful thing to do. I had one a week ago yesterday, and same thing. I just felt that tingle releasing up the side of my head, and that's energy and movement. But when you're not doing an energy release process and you feel different things, it's a body symbol of talking to you. Sometimes there's a bigger issue going on, right? So I'm not saying ignore chest pains, or heart issues, things like that. But the more we get in tune with our body and we hear the little messages that it sends us all day, every day, the less likely we are to be really afraid when we feel something like that, because we'll know, like, I know I get those tingles. I can think back to 9/11, and I traveled home because my aunt passed away, and I traveled to my parents and to where she lived for her funeral right after 9/11. So I was on a plane, like as soon as you could be back on a plane after 9/11, and I had those same kind of tingle sensations. I had them all over, and I had such a histamine response that my hands blew up and they were red. They were red, and I was in a doctor's office, ER actually, and saying, "What's going on with my hands?" And he said, "Well, that's histamine." And I said, "Think about it. It was 9/11, and you came for a funeral. Don't you think your body is feeling some tension and stress right now?" Yeah, made perfect sense. So, point being, pay attention to your symptoms, but know what the true corona symptoms are, and then the rest, consider a message from your body. And this is an ultimate time for reset and paying attention to your body, and then taking action to what it's trying to tell you. Another thing I want to share about corona that you may or may not know is that, like all viruses, it's not heat resistant. So the way a virus works is, and this one especially, but the way virus works is it gets into your cell and then it starts to replicate. It takes over the cell and then it starts to replicate itself. So similar to cancer in that way. And the only way it can get in is if the internal temperature in your body is below 98.6. If it doesn't do well with heat. So even outside, 78 to 80 degrees, viruses start to suffer. That's why there is actually a virus season, and it's winter. It's the cold time because or flu season, excuse me, because viruses don't like heat. So anything you can do right now to keep warm, and that might be getting out in the sun because viruses hate the sun, but also it can be things like steam showers, and then even wrapping up in towels afterward and just having a good sweat. This is why I love something I've been doing for my non-toxic treatment of the bump is a near and infrared sauna. And I do it now twice a day. I was doing it once a day before, but it's my little portable, and I'll put this in the email as well. It's my little portable sauna, and I get in there and I crank it up to 104 degrees, and I sweat as much as I can because I've always known that sweating was very healing. It's detoxifying, but also that heat really makes a difference for viruses. So continue with your social distancing, get hot, and then continue with the hygiene practices. So washing your hands frequently, even if you haven't been outside, even just within the house. This virus can live on your hands for 5 to 10 minutes only. But a lot can happen in 5 to 10 minutes, especially if you have the habit of rubbing your eyes or touching your nose or scratching your face or anything like that. So even within the house, as a precaution, make sure to keep up with that hand washing. And we're having some varying information. We're trying to figure it out really as far as how long does it live on fabric and metal and cardboard. But follow those guidelines right now. So cardboard 24 hours. If something arrives, Amazon, just leave it out in the garage or outside for 24 hours before you touch that box, that cardboard. Fabric, the estimates are 6 to 12 hours. So if I go outside, even for my run, and I'm not touching surfaces when I go outside for my run, but just simply as a precaution, right when I get in the door, if you can do it in a garage, that's great. I take off those clothes. I put them in a garbage bag, and they either go outside in the sunlight with my gloves or they go right in the wash and they're done. So I think that's a great practice as well because it can live in fabric 6 to 12 hours. And then metals surfaces, they're saying 12 hours with the exception of copper seems to be less. So cleaning off your metal surfaces frequently, washing your hands again after you've had any contact with metal surfaces, all are really great practices for prevention here. It's also really helpful to keep your mouth moist. Sip water all day long, and it can be hot water is great. I have, if I don't have tea, I have my tea right now. And if I don't have tea, I might have just plain hot water with lemon, but sipping water all throughout the day. And the reason for that is that if a virus does get into your mouth, water having water regularly will take it down to your stomach, and your hydrochloric acid of your stomach acid, will kill the virus. So again, what a health reset, right? We get to get really vigilant about our water consumption. Drink warm water, and definitely not water with ice, any beverage with ice, no icy liquids right now. A saltwater rinse with water also is great, and just gargle. And that just keeps the health and obviously also could take any virus down to our gut. So those are some updates on how to handle this coronavirus. Now I want to start talking about the immune system because of course our immune system is key to prevention, and it's key to, I'm just checking in at the chat, key to recovery. So it's time for a scorecard for your family, an immune system scorecard. And the areas of scorecard are your lifestyle and your diet, your thoughts and your emotions, and your, I think I I think I broke those into. Sorry, let me start over. So lifestyle and diet, definitely. And actually, I put those as two. That's why I was thinking there was four. So lifestyle, diet, thoughts and emotion, and detoxification. There we go. Sorry, I had to get it straight. So lifestyle, diet, thoughts and emotion, and then detoxification. And just put those in a column. Take a piece of paper, make 3 columns, make a little scorecard, draw, make it like tic-tac-toe. Put lifestyle, put diet, put thoughts and emotion, and put detoxification. And then do you give your family, yourself or your family, a plus or a minus? Are you doing what you already know to do in those areas? Or are there things that you know and yet, you haven't made time for them? It's a pretty interesting time in that I've been talking with so many people, including a lot of visionaries, a lot of energy healers, a lot of light workers. And I think light workers and energy healers might be doing about the worst in terms of some of their self care. And we're starting to have a conversation about it amongst ourselves of it's easy to get so busy taking care of everybody else virtually. For example, I'm a virtual responder, virtual first responder right now in a program. And you can get so carried away with that you forget the things that you know. So I know this can happen for anybody. This is why it's so good to do a scorecard for your family. So your lifestyle, your diet, your thoughts and emotion, and your um, detoxification. How are you doing with that? Would you give yourself a plus or a minus? That's a great little scorecard. Then wherever you've got a minus, actually, even wherever you have a plus, wherever you have the minus, make a choice today to add some things to it. And even where you're at a plus, are there additional things that you could be doing that you could add to it? And most important, if you are a head of a household, um, share it with your whole family. Make this a family project. And it's okay to say, you know what, I have ignored this. I haven't been consistent with this. I know I've known this is important for a very, very long time, but I haven't been doing it and I haven't been training you to do it or teaching you how to do it. So let's do this now together. That reassessment and that commitment to new habits can be huge. So, in terms of lifestyle, sleep is huge for immunity. Sleep is absolutely huge. So this is a great time to have the whole family sleeping more. To practice what, if you've been following me for a while, you know I talk about all the time the sunset ritual, where about 8 p.m., all the noise goes down, the lights go down, we start to get quiet, we get in bed no later than 10 to be asleep. 10 to 2 is prime sleep hours, and we sleep for at least 8 hours. And that might sound like a foreign country to your kids. I realize that. But this is your opportunity, again, for a wellness reset for the whole family. Movement, sweating, exercise is huge. We already talked about the virus doesn't like heat. Well, when you're moving, you're hot. Sweating is a form of detoxification, and it's also oxygen therapy. Now, in my non-toxic treatment of the bump, for example, one thing that we do in the clinic and that many of my fellow patients are doing at home is a hyperbaric chamber with oxygen. And you can go out to centers, not now, but you can. And, it'll cost you a little bit. What my doctor there told me is a good solid exercise run where you break a sweat, where you're huffing and puffing, does as much for oxygenating your body as that hyperbaric chamber with oxygen. So get out and move. And if possible, do things that you might even think are a little bit strenuous. Now, of course, you have to use your own judgment. I don't want anybody's heart to be at risk or anything like that. But if you haven't been a runner before, and maybe you have knee issues or something like that, now's your time to try running a block. One block, something, because that will be a metabolic shift for your body. You'll sweat more, and it's such great immune system boosting. It's also really important to relieve your stress for your immune system. So I actually like to think of it as stress release because when I say get rid of stress, well, that's pretty impossible. When I say relieve it, that also feels, I think, to the mind a little impossible. But what about if you have practices in place to release it? Simply recognize it, that it's there. Everybody, I shared my example from this morning, everybody has stress. If we deny, then we stuff it down and we start to ignore our body. So recognize it, that it's there and take a proactive step to release it right then and there as soon as you possibly can. That can be through deep breaths, that can be through meditation, that can be through a walk, that can be through journaling, that can be through a prayer, that could be through stretching. There's so many different things to do, and I know you know a lot of them. And all of this calms the nervous system down. Breath work is extremely important right now because this virus does cause a pneumonia in our lungs. Breath work, I can say from 2 people I know firsthand, one who is tested positive and recovered, one who can't get a test because they're in New York and it wasn't to emergency levels, but had a week-long illness that showed every symptom of coronavirus, both of them attributed the breath work to making it more tolerable and getting through actually having the disease. And so a simple exercise for breath work is force your breath out. Force it for longer than you think you can. Force it for absolutely the longest that you can possibly keep blowing out air. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I can do a lot longer than that, but I won't here. Go until you absolutely gasp that inhale in, and then take in full lung again, and then repeat it. And repeat that for 10 cycles. That will help keep you detoxified, keep your lungs clear, and if you happen to contract the virus, it will really help in those situations too. But I'm talking prevention as well. If you start to do this practice every single day, you'll increase your lung capacity, and I hope that you don't have to experience this virus, but if you do, if you have increased lung capacity, you will do better with it. The next thing I said is diet. I'm going to talk about diet down with gut health, so hang on for that one. Thoughts and emotions on your scorecard. Thoughts and emotions. What are the things that you're thinking most often, and what are the things that you're feeling most often, and what about your family? Asking them too. So this can be as simple as a journal where you wake up every morning, or maybe you do this every hour, but you say, right now I'm thinking, right now I'm feeling, and you name these things. And then you can take a step to release the emotional energy that you choose to release. And you can talk with your family about this. I think to do this together as a group is amazing, to actually ask your children, what's the emotion you're feeling right now? Really, really important. And then I also share a 3-step process for releasing an emotion. So let's say you do notice that you're feeling fearful, or you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling worried. Identify exactly what it is. First of all, step 1 of the 3 steps is breathe. Just get yourself centered. 4 deep, long, slow breaths can bring you back to a little bit more of a point of a reason than being in that emotional energy. Then identify and name exactly what that emotion is. It might be fear, but it might be something totally different. It might be even resentment right now. Maybe you're a little ticked off that all of this is happening in the world. Maybe you're even ticked off at God. I've heard that. But check in. What is the actual emotion? Try to name it. And then feel it. Truly let it be for as long as it takes until you notice a shift. And things that you can do while you're allowing that to be is you can ask where it is in your body. You can ask yourself, if I'm feeling resentment, where is it in my body? If it had a color, what color would it have? If it had a texture, what texture would it have? If I could see a visual image of it, what would it be? And then continue to just explore and ask those questions. And then if you're still not feeling it ease up at all, you can visualize a wave coming in from shore. And what do waves do? They build up, they build up, they build up. If you're out surfing, if you've ever been out surfing, you might feel as you're waiting to turn and ride it, you might feel like it's going to crash right over you. And that's the thing about waves, is that they always do crest and they always do go back out again. So you're standing on the shore, here's coming that wave, you're watching it, you're watching it, you're watching it, watching it till its peak. And that wave is representing the emotion, and then you let it roll back out again. As soon as you feel even the slightest decrease in the wave, it lets up even just a little bit. It's not gone yet, but it's not at the highest that it once was. Then shift your focus to gratitude. Why? Gratitude is the most easily accessible positive energy. Okay? Think about something that you're grateful for. Related to the situation, not related to the situation, doesn't really matter. Just anything that you're grateful for in your life. And I know there's a lot of things that you're grateful for in your life. So that's dealing with your thoughts and emotions. Next is detoxification. Water, I've talked about already. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Sipping water all day long. Also, juicing is great. Maybe this is the health reset where you actually take the time to juice because you have the time now, which would be great. Coffee enemas, I'm going to be squeezing that in right after this, before the next videos that I need to do. No joke, because it's been a part of my protocol now for 7 months. Oxygenation, I already spoke to with the exercise, and again, even the steam showers, all of that very, very detoxifying. So let's shift gears. So we've talked to 3 points on your 4-point scorecard. I'm going to talk about diet here as I speak to gut health in particular. So we know now that gut gastrointestinal issues can be a symptom of this virus. And also that 70% or more of our immune system is in the gut. So it's a great time to focus on your gut. A probiotic, it would be a wonderful time to do a probiotic. Get as high of cells per unit as you can. The highest qualities are the refrigerated ones, and always make sure you have lactobacillus and bifidus strains, but as many strains as possible is great. Here's where diet comes in. So for your scorecard, check into, are you boosting your immune system with what you're eating, or are you suppressing it? Immune boosting foods are antioxidant rich vegetables, citrus fruits, garlic, ginger, homemade soups right now, bone broth, warm liquids, sweet potatoes, green tea and all teas, mushrooms, broccoli, bell peppers, which makes sense, they're thermogenic, spinach, turmeric, real whole food. And I've heard many, many people who are getting back to cooking right now. And I think, again, that's so wonderful. That is a reset of this whole situation. And then avoid the immune suppressing, the sugars, the alcohols, the caffeine, the gluten, the dairy, the processed foods, the packaged foods, all of that. Get back to cooking real whole foods. So do that part of your check-in on your 4-part scorecard for diet for your family. Okay, lastly, I want to talk about supplements. First of all, immune boosting, and then specifically antivirals. So immune boosting, and I've got some examples to hold up for you here. Immune boosting are going to be ones you already know. Vitamin C, if you can get it or find it, do liposomal. This is a lipospheric vitamin C that's liposomal. It's a gel, and it's from a company called Live On. I know there's been shortages of this one online, but different resources are getting back in stock. But this is a highly, highly absorbable vitamin C. It's a 1,000 milligram packet. I would say right now 2 a day. Because of my health condition, I'm actually upping that to 3 or 4 a day. Vitamin D, again, we want something highly absorbable. So this is a spray called Solray D, and it's liposome spray. So I'm upping my vitamin D, very important right now. And zinc. Zinc is so interesting. So I recommend Opti Zinc. And we know this is good, right, for the colds. We do zinc tablets and all that. But what they are finding, there's a source now citing that in the autopsies of those who have passed from coronavirus, they are finding a high, high percentage had low zinc levels. So that's one correlation that's just beginning to be made. I heard that from a researcher friend of mine yesterday. He's forwarding me the research. And this is just brand new on the autopsies that have happened so far. So boosting your zinc levels is really important right now for your immune system. Always, really, but that's a new stat. I have been on and highly recommend something called Immune Power Plus. This is part of my personal protocol. It's from Baseline. Is the company, and I'll tell you, I haven't found a good online source for this for you. I get it directly from my clinic. So what I thought I would do, because Hope for Cancer, the clinic that I go to, they actually studied this exact product on 50 AIDS patients in South Africa and had incredible results with it. But since I can't really give you a recommendation where to get it unless you don't want to be going to my cancer clinic. So what I can tell you is what's in it. And it is magnesium, selenium, zinc, beta glucans, turkey tail mushrooms, astragalus, and that's it. Sorry, I was thinking there was one more. So again, I'll include this in the email where this video goes out, and you can reproduce this for yourself. I'm just checking into the feed. All right, so you can source those ingredients yourself. Now, antivirals. I will tell you that of the two people that I know personally that have had the virus and recovered, one did olive leaf extract the whole time. I also highly recommend oregano, and you can get oregano oil in a tincture like oreganol that's 99% pure, and you can also get it in capsules. And I'm using this one from Biomatrix, Microbe X. I had this for bacterial infection or bacteria that was in my system earlier, but the ingredients are thyme, clove, and oregano oil, and the oregano oil is 100 milligrams, so it's a good dose of it, and you'll taste it and you'll burp it, and it's not that pleasant, but it's worth it. Other antivirals are elderberry, endographis, anything in the allium family like garlic and onion, we already talked about, lauric acid malarium, beta 3 glucan, silver spray, and NAC. NAC is an amino acid, N-acetylcysteine. And I am using this one called Florisinus. My husband and I have used this for years when we thought we were coming down with a cold. Anytime we just thought we might be coming down with a cold, we have used this, and the cold never surfaces. It's like it just sort of gets disappeared in the process, it just sort of evaporates. And so this is 600 milligram. You can get NAC by itself, not in this formula. I've just had amazing personal success with this formula, so that's what I use. And then lastly, for immune boosting, actually, no, not lastly, let me save that one. I will also tell you now what I have added in preparation. And I want to say that, so some I'm taking and some I have on hand for our family just in case. And the one that is preventative is something called thymus, and this is from Systemic Formulas. And I resourced this protocol from my researcher friend that I mentioned who makes supplements and designs them himself, and he's highly, highly educated, and definitely said start with this one no matter what as preventative. And it's really interesting because thymus is, there's a lot of other ingredients in here too, but thymus is in my immunotherapy injections that I do weekly for my bump treatment also. So that's a great one for prevention to start with. If you or somebody in your family should contract this virus, then there are several other systemic formula products to consider. One is called Lung, and this one is actually good also if you have any other lung issue already. If you have a compromised lung, you could start this one. Sorry, you could start this one preventatively. And then in terms of antiviral, one called Vivi and one called Attack. And Vivi, I believe it is, there's one of these that has, this writing is so small. There's one of these that has, oh, it's the, yeah, Vivi, has lactotarnia, which was actually a key ingredient that helped in the 1918 flu. So that's something that I have on hand. And then the last thing I want to say that I've been doing for probably 15 years for immunity is Juice Plus, which is real whole vegetables and fruits and berries, if you get the purple one. And it just makes common sense. So I'm upping that right now as well. So I know that was a lot of information, a lot of supplements, and I'll remind you that I'm going to put that in an email written form so that you actually have that list. So in order to receive that and a copy of this video, that is going to go out through email. So make sure you're on our email list, whether you're in this group already or not. If you opt in to the link that I put at the very top of the comments here, you will get my free energy guide, aligning your vibration with your desires. And then you will, you'll also make sure that you receive the email that'll be sent out later today that has the copy of this video and everything I've shared in writing in terms of the supplements. So the last thing that I want to close with is that this can be in any crisis. In any crisis, there's one of three directions that we can go. Number one, it can take us down. It can take us down mentally. It can take us down physically. Um, it can take us down emotionally. It can take us down spiritually. We can see this as a tragedy that happened to us and against us, and really fall into that place and isolate and have a depression, have an anxiety. We can go that path. We can also take it, what I've been talking about this whole conversation, take it as an opportunity for reset, and we can say, okay, it's my come to Jesus moment. Those little daily habits that I've been ignoring, now is the time to get serious about them. Now is the time to pay attention to my body. Now is the time to add that supplement that I always thought probably isn't important. Or now is the time to learn how to do a coffee enema, even though it might sound scary or weird or uncomfortable. It's really not bad, I swear. I actually look forward to them now. um, Reset. That's a second path. A third path is that you actually use this to be a catalyst for your highest self. That you take this as a time to completely break through your fear, any fear. Ultimately, what are you fearing the most right now? That is an incredible contemplative question for journaling. What is your actual greatest fear? Is it death? For many, it's death. But maybe it's that you did something wrong. Maybe it's that you didn't take care of your body well enough, and you're afraid that this is going to reveal it. Maybe it's that you haven't mended a relationship that you've been meaning to, but you've still been stuck in your ego mind and arguing with somebody. There are endless possibilities to what your fear is, but when you can figure that out, you can break through it. And this can be a catalyst time that takes you to a higher level spiritually, past your ego mind, to where you can really contribute and do and be and have, and be and have and do. I like to say it in that order. Um, a much higher level experience in this life. So number 3 is what I wish for you. And if I can support you in that in any way, I do specialize in that. I help all of my clients with that, breaking through to their most powerful self, becoming a vibrant woman or a vibrant person, and being their most powerful creator. And that could be the purpose. That could be God's message in all of this. Is it's time now. It's time to be the full on powerful creator that you were designed to be. I hope this has been helpful. And this is part 1 of a 6-part series. So stay tuned in our emails. Have a blessed, safe day, everyone, and stay connected with each other. It's so important. It helps us in this time of separation. All right. Thank you.